Councilmen are lawmakers charged with the making of essential laws that guide behavior within society. The men and women who become a part of this select group ought to be men of character and integrity. But what happens when these men who should make the laws are found out in the streets breaking the same laws they've made? First up is Peter Filiberto, councilman from Florida. Peter Filiberto was elected to represent the people of Palm Bay, Florida as a councilman. His tenure took a drastic hit when he tried to outrun the police on his motorcycle. Why was a councilman, one of the leaders of the city, running from the police? Let's find out. Police caught Filiberto riding his motorcycle above the speed limit on Lipscomb Street. He ran 2 stop signs, forcing the officers to swing into action and give chase when he wouldn't stop. You can see the moment the officer caught up to him, just as he attempted to make a U-turn and lost control of his motorcycle.
Yeah, I got mailed it in. What the hell are you doing, man?
Enjoying my night, sir.
Enjoying your night? Trying to take off from me, man.
I was not.
You were not?
No, sir.
The councilman had a lie handy for why he was running from the police, and like most lies, it simply made the councilman look very stupid. "I'm not running, I was headed up there," he says, nodding towards an unknown location. But a look at his license showed why he ran. His license was suspended and he didn't have the right endorsement for his motorcycle. But we must ask, is that a good reason to try and outrun the police, or is there more to the story?
Why are you running, man? You're not running.
I had you on take off.
When I let you up, over there, okay.
I was looking for a safe space to pull.
But then you just tried to turn around and you fell off your motorcycle, and that's why.
I was trying to put a kickstand down. Foxtrot 416 674.
That's why you're running.
Why, sir?
Filiberto doesn't look like he's in the best frame of mind. He can't seem to stand straight, and he appears antsy as he stood and waited for the police to run his suspended license. According to the cops on scene, the councilman reeked of alcohol, so they read him his rights and tried to ascertain how much drinks he'd had in him, but he wouldn't agree to a field sobriety test. He simply told the cops no further conversation.
She's gonna speak to you because we got an odor of alcohol.
I'm doing a DUI investigation. The court under.
So she's Mirandizing you so that she can ask you questions about what happened tonight. That's fine.
That's fine.
Okay. So I already have probable cause for reckless driving. Okay. But the soda or alcoholic beverage is a concern to me, so we're going to conduct to make sure that you're not impaired beyond your.
We no further conversation.
I'm sorry?
No further conversation.
Is that a yes or a no?
No.
No.
Further conversation.
No.
I said no. No further conversation.
You don't have to ask any questions, still have the right to ask me sobriety.
Yeah. Yep. Would you like to perform field sobriety exercises?
No thanks.
No, thank you.
You understand not doing field sobriety exercises is still be charged with driving.
I've heard.
He was arrested immediately for reckless driving and DUI, but that wasn't the end of his eventful night. The police went ahead to search the councilman thoroughly, digging into his pockets and patting him down. They found nothing incriminating on him, and he can be heard asking them to allow him to make a phone call.
Or do you have someone with a trailer maybe or something like that?
I do. I can call somebody through last night.
Peter Filiberto was taken to the police station with the charges of reckless driving and DUI, but back at the precinct, the officers found a plastic container and a plastic bag in his socks and shoes, respectively. You'll remember that his shoes weren't examined on the road. It was his pockets. The plastic bag and container both contained what the police later confirmed to be cocaine. The councilman, a lawmaker, trusted by his constituents, had let everyone down, and shortly after, following calls for his resignation, he resigned his position as a councilman and the representative of Palm Bay. He faces 3 charges: possession of a controlled substance, reckless driving, and driving under the influence. Hopefully Peter Filiberto will get what's coming for him. Next up is Councilman Matthew Raley. While Peter Filiberto, a councilman, had enough drugs on him to show he intended to distribute, Councilman Matthew Raley had a slightly different kind of drug problem. Many times at the city council meetings, Raley had been quite vocal about his struggle with drugs, and when cops found him sitting in his car by the side of the road, it didn't look good at all. The councilman representing Cranston County, Matthew Raley, was found asleep on the side of the road. Can you guess what he had in his hand when he was found? For a councilman, you wouldn't guess a crack pipe, would you?
Yes, sir. Yep. I'm just gonna pat you down.
Yes, sir.
And put interlock your fingers. Interlock your fingers. You have any weapons on you?
No, not at all.
How can you explain being caught in broad daylight, sleeping in your car, and choking in your sleep? Matthew Raley had the best answer. I have sleep apnea.
Well, a rescue's gonna come check you out, man. I can't let you go. You were literally choking in your sleep. Somebody flagged me down about it.
Oh, I have sleep apnea. I'm sorry.
Well, and then you have a crack pipe in your hand, so it's like...
Please, sorry.
Listen, I have a body camera. Obviously,
Yeah,
everything I
understood.
have is recorded. You know that, and what I've observed is on camera, so I can't pretend I didn't. You know, so a rescue's going to come here, and they're going to check you out. You know, as far as I know, there's no drugs anywhere, so I can't. You know, so there's not a criminal investigation. There's more a health or well-being check type thing.
Thank you.
I do find myself feeling a deep pity for him. He says it was a relapse. I've been clean for 13 years.
How long have you had this problem, man?
It was a relapse. I've been clean for 13 years.
All right.
Just went through a really, really bad divorce recently.
Okay.
When the cops found him, he was passed out completely and struggling to breathe. Paramedics were summoned to the scene, but the councilman apparently had no need for them as his issues weren't really health-related. Seeking to get out as quickly as possible, Raley asked the cops if they planned to arrest him. In response, they asked if he had any drugs in his car, but he lies through his teeth.
You can have that back.
Thank you. There will be no arrest.
What?
There will be no arrest.
No. Are there any drugs in the car or anything like that?
No, nothing.
But a search of his car upturned crack laced with fentanyl, as well as his drug kit with all the suspect equipment. Here's another look at the drug contents of the councilman's car.
Careful with that stuff. I don't know if that's fentanyl laced or not. There's white all over there. He doesn't know.
Yeah, I was just telling him the same thing, because, I mean, you don't fall asleep usually from completely, you know, it's not an opiate
Yeah.
usually. It's pure.
He claims he was tired and he may have sleep apnea, but I don't think that's going to
Right, especially like this.
Well,
Right away.
fentanyl?
Coke.
Yeah.
Crack. Pot for crack. I can test it for fentanyl too.
Test it for both, just to make sure that I don't know what we're dealing with.
Wait, can you just snap a picture of that?
Especially when you put him in a cell, they'll watch him quick in case he goes down quick.
Right. Got it.
The councilman was arrested on charges of possession of drugs and taken to the station.
Yeah, I wasn't joking. I have an appointment on the 17th.
All right.
I'll crack a window for you in a second.
Thank you.
Raley eventually owns up to his problems, stating he had just gone through a bad divorce and this situation is a relapse. A member of the Cranston City Council says Raley had often brought up his struggles with addiction at council meetings, but in spite of that, it was only right that Matthew Raley vacates his position on the city council following this very public and disturbing arrest. But things didn't really get better for him. No, they only got worse. By June 23, he was back in the news again as cops arrested and held him without bail after multiple charges of child molestation were filed against him. Frying pan to fire, huh? If the disturbing case of Matthew Raley made you think how fickle life is in general, the case of the San Antonio City Councilman Clayton Perry would make you laugh a little at least. At the beginning, when the burly-looking man lay on his back on his porch, unable to open his own door and get into his home.
What's your name, sir?
Oh,
Officer DeRozier, San Antonio Police Department, if you're curious.
okay.
You alright?
No,
Clayton Perry was well respected on most days, but on the night of November 6th, he went to Evil Olive, a bar where he drank 8 bottles of beer and chases them down with 6 shots of some kind of alcohol.
What happened?
man, I am like,
Do you need an ambulance?
no, I'm not.
Is this really a man who should be a councilman? Hold on a moment, it gets worse. You can see police questioning him as he lay on his porch, drunk, his car still running.
Do you realize your Jeep's still running?
Oh shit.
The troubling part begins the moment the cop asks if he's aware he was involved in a car accident that night. Clayton could smell the danger even in his drunken state and he quickly responds with a loud no.
Do you realize you were potentially involved in a motor vehicle accident tonight, Clayton?
No.
Of course, he was lying. In his drunken haze, he'd hit a Honda Civic at the intersection of Jones Maltzberger and Redland Road.
Well, I can't exactly leave you like this.
Oh shoot.
He wouldn't admit that he'd been out driving either. There's a pattern to his answers, almost like he had decided to say no to everything. He wouldn't even agree that he'd been out driving his own car or that he'd been drinking.
Do you have a driver's license?
No.
But you were out driving?
No, I'm not.
No, not right now, but you were out earlier.
No.
Because I have a description that you match at a Bill Miller's. I have a receipt from right behind your vehicle with some groceries from earlier today.
Okay.
And when I said you left your vehicle running, you reacted in such a way that would lead me to believe that you were operating it earlier. So if you don't have a driver's license, why are you out driving?
It's almost comical how he continues to tell a library of lies. While he couldn't remember anything real about the night, he seemed to remember one thing, and he let the officer know one tiny detail about his night. I had a good time.
Had a good time.
Right there in the alleyway.
Where?
Well, from
That night, after he left Evil Olive, with his mind fogged with his numerous drinks, Clayton headed over to the Bill Miller drive-thru. He didn't want to get anything, and it appears he didn't want anything except for the 17-year-old cashier who he repeatedly professed love to. It was after he'd left the drive-thru that he hit the Honda. In court, he pleaded in no contest to misdemeanor charges of driving while drunk, and to help him, he's been barred from taking alcohol for a period of 1 year. Do you think his punishment is enough, or would you rather have him face the inside of a prison cell? One thing is certain, he won't be representing his constituency anymore. Enough's been said about drug peddling, drug sniffing, and bottle-hugging councilmen. What about councilwomen involved in similar embarrassing situations? Up next is the disturbing case of Councilwoman Maria Rodriguez Gregg. From the moment the police arrived on the scene, Maria was full of herself. There was only one reason for her haughty attitude. She was an assemblywoman with a bit of political power.
Can you unlock that for me, please? Unlock that for me, please, so I can get your information. Copy down. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's real frustrating. I understand.
Absolutely frustrating. They were coming full freaking speed.
I mean, as long as you're not too seriously injured, I mean.
I've already been in the hospital recently. I don't need this kind of shit from I can't drive.
It wasn't all her fault. Another car had rear-ended her car, and oftentimes when the hit comes from behind, the driver of the car behind is at fault, but there was something off about the assemblywoman. The cops were really nice at first, but that all soon changed.
Stop, ma'am. Okay, let's try and stop yelling at him, okay? It doesn't really help anything. Yes, sir. I smelled something.
I think you should give another whiff.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's weed.
Alright.
One officer says to the other, "I smell something. I'm pretty sure it's weed." This moment changed their entire approach to the investigation as the smell of weed is coming from Maria's car. The officer heads over to ask her about it.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you come over here for me real quick?
The cop takes her to the side and asks if she had any drugs in her car. She denies the presence of marijuana and says she'd only smoked a cigarette earlier.
Is there anything inside the vehicle that we need to know about?
Meaning what?
Meaning myself and another officer got the scent of marijuana coming from your car.
Oh my god, there's no marijuana in my car. I smoked cigars earlier.
Smoked cigars?
Yeah, in Morristown. But there's no marijuana. You can search my car, there's no marijuana.
You consent to search?
Yeah.
Okay.
She consents to a search thinking that it would be enough to prove her innocence. Again, she reverts to a haughty tone when she notices that her eagerness to consent to a search wasn't going to be enough. Can you guess what she says?
Please don't get angry.
I'm a sitting assemblywoman. Do you really think that I'm smoking cigars?
Ma'am, I don't know who you are.
You can guess the next thing she says, and it has to do with getting her lawyer.
Ma'am, I don't know.
At this time of night? Alright, I'm calling my lawyer.
I'm sure you're wondering when the smell of cigarettes and marijuana became the same. While she'd consented to a search initially, she suddenly refused to allow the officer to conduct a search. Instead, she keeps talking about her lawyer and her position as a sitting assemblywoman.
What do you want?
You consented to search, ma'am?
No, I'm not consenting to anything. I need a warrant.
Ma'am.
I want a warrant.
Ma'am, listen, okay?
I'm not consenting to anything. I have not smoked marijuana. I smoked cigars at an event in Morristown. I don't trust you until my lawyer is here.
Listen to me, ma'am.
Because I don't
Let
know
me
you
talk
guys.
for a second.
Earlier, she'd consented, and now she wants a warrant from the cop.
If the odor of marijuana is emanating from your vehicle,
There is
we can
no
search your
odor
vehicle.
of
Step out of the
marijuana
vehicle.
emanating from my vehicle.
Step out of the vehicle.
I am talking to my lawyer first.
You can call your lawyer. Get out of the vehicle.
When the cops finally get her out of the car, one of them asks if she'd had anything to drink that night. Her response is the same as it's always been. First shock, then a quick, "I'm calling my lawyer," all in a bid to intimidate the cops doing their jobs.
Back up.
I'm not on you. I am not in your space, sir.
Ma'am, have you had anything to drink tonight?
Oh my god.
Have you had anything to drink tonight?
I'm calling my lawyer. This is ridiculous.
Okay. When you sign, have you had anything to drink tonight?
I am calling my lawyer.
Can you look straight for me?
No, hold on. Hello?
Start searching.
No, I'm not okay.
The cops had to invite their supervisor to the scene, and as Maria continues to refuse his field sobriety test, he asks the officers to place her under arrest. You can hear her loud protest laced with the usual "I'm a sitting assemblywoman."
You want to try to do a field sobriety test?
Yeah, I can.
No, I'm refusing.
Was HDN already done?
I don't trust you. I'm talking to my lawyer right now.
Ma'am. Ma'am.
He's under arrest.
You're under arrest.
I'm not doing. I didn't know. He's trying to arrest me. No, they're trying to arrest me. I'm talking to my lawyer.
You're under
Please,
arrest.
I didn't do
Behind your
anything.
back.
Please,
Do not resist.
Stop resisting.
Stop resisting.
Stop resisting. Stop resisting.
You're under
arrest. Do not resist.
I'm a sitting assemblywoman. What did I do wrong?
Her charges are simple obstruction and DUI.